In the top stories, government announces plans to empower civil servants. Opposition leader responds to national budget. And Prime Minister Harris calls for more input from the private sector. The details on these stories and more after the break. Hello and welcome to the Zadizer Channel 5 newscast. I'm Carla Berridge. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris has outlined several benefits to empower civil servants and make the job more attractive. We hear more in this report.
Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris unveiled the plans under his Team Unity administration's $712.9 million budget titled Working Together, Accelerating Growth and Building Resilience. Included are several initiatives aimed at incentivizing and empowering public servants in order to attract the best and the brightest to the civil service.
We are a government that cares for hard-working men and women who have dedicated their lives to the service of the government and people of this country. To the extent that it is fiscally responsible, we are committed to increasing remuneration packages to reward all civil servants who work hard, no matter where they are stationed. And as mentioned earlier, in 2017, the Human Resource Management Department will spearhead the introduction of a new performance incentive system. The new system is being designed to address the existing deficiencies in incentivizing good performance. We want to make the commitment now to the auxiliary employees who had been left behind by the last administration in terms of becoming part of the normal pensionable establishment that the Team Unity administration will address this in 2017. We have made special provision to assist our nurses who are on call and who are called upon to work beyond their regular shift and in some very extenuating circumstances. So the same support and relief that we bring to the nurses, we are bringing to the security officers. Last year, for the first time in a very long time, we brought a 20% increase in the risk pay for the security officers. That risk pay hadn't been touched for about 15 to 20 years, I'm advised by those in the leadership of the police.
These significant announcements came 2.5 weeks after Prime Minister Harris unveiled his Team Unity administration's double salary Christmas stimulus package, which represents a more than 8% bonus to people on the government's payroll in both St. Kitts and Nevis, civil servants, pensioners, and auxiliary workers.
The Team Unity government determined that the fiscal performance for the year was sufficiently healthy to make the payment which we refer to as a 13-month salary. And we thank all of those for recognizing the important investment which this government is making by that particular payment.
Reporting from the National Assembly chambers at government headquarters in Bastille, St. Kitts, I'm Valencia Grant, the press secretary to the Prime Minister.
The debate on the 2017 budget continued on Thursday with numerous contributions at National Assembly. The day began with a 3-hour presentation by Leader of the Opposition, the Right Honorable Dr. Denzil Douglas. In his speech, Dr. Douglas was critical about the budget laid out on the previous day by Prime Minister Harris. Among his concerns were that there were no fiscal incentives, and he predicted that there would be an increase in income tax collection. The second half of the day featured contributions from various parliamentarians. The $721 million budget was presented on Wednesday under a theme focusing on growth and resilience in the nation. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris says it can't be business as usual when it comes to developing national policies for the Federation, given the changing nature of the world. During Wednesday's presentation of the 2017 budget, the Prime Minister said government must be committed to policies that stimulate the economy and enhance human development.
No longer can we settle for an economy built on wholesale and retail trades or replace sugar production with the narrow traditional form of tourism. The business community must rise to the challenge of mobilizing the resources necessary to invest in key sectors such as non-traditional services, agriculture, manufacturing, renewable energy, and ICTs.
He also called for greater input from the private sector and a stronger partnership with the government.
To accelerate growth in St. Kitts and Nevis, we would require a much more vibrant and innovative private sector. We need a private sector that is more involved in producing. We need a private sector that can commercialize our agriculture, our floriculture, and cultural industries. The high level of imports suggests that there are production opportunities. We would need to tackle them together.
The budget was presented under the theme Working Together, Accelerating Growth and Building Resilience. After the break, Prime Minister Harris expresses gratitude for the hard work of medical practitioners, and Culture Minister tours the work being done to renovate Carnival City. We'll tell you more when we come back. Medical practitioners, nurses, and administrative staff in the Ministry of Health have been recognized for their dedication to healthcare in the Federation. Speaking at the opening of the oncology unit on Tuesday, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris said thank you to those who make a significant contribution to healthcare.
To all those who have come back, particularly those who have been trained here, our nurses, who have been trained and who have stayed on. On behalf of the entire country, I say thank you. To the doctors who have determined to come back, I say thank you. To the administrative staff who has agreed to stay on, I say thank you. And to those of you who are over age and determined that there is a deficiency and a dearth in the provision of services and support, and you're determined to come back, I say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Prime Minister Harris also thanked Minister of Health, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, and Minister of State with Responsibility for Health, the Honorable Wendy Phipps, for their leadership in moving the ministry forward.
And I know each one is committed to the cause of service, to the cause of ensuring they play a small part in advancing the agenda for all of our people, regardless of their creed, their race, their sexual preferences, recognizing that all are equal under God.
It has been announced as part of the 2017 budget that medical personnel will begin to receive overtime payment. As repairs continue at Carnival Village in preparation to host Sugar Mass 45, Minister of Culture, the Honorable Sean Richards, conducted a site visit with Carnival Chairman Noah Mills on Wednesday. Minister Richards was shown the newly customized shipping containers where vendors will be positioned for the sugar mill events, as well as a massive VIP section which will host members of the corporate community. Chairman Mills was commended on the work done by the committee thus far and encouraged to keep up the good work. Minister Richards also thanked the inmates at Her Majesty's Prison for the work on this restoration project. Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine's 7th semester class, known as the Blue Semester, has donated school supplies to the Newton Ground Primary School, providing the school with items ranging from notebooks to storybooks to begin the new year. As a final gesture before leaving the island, Blue Semester held a 3-week donation drive to allow students to give new and used items in good condition to the school. Donations included nearly 60 binders, a variety of notebooks, pens and pencils, general school supplies, coloring books and storybooks. Afifa Abdul Rahim, 7th semester student and former student body president, delivered the items to the Newton Ground Primary. She said she organized the school supply drive because she felt it was important to inspire children to study at a very young age. Afifa hopes that lower classes at Ross University will follow suit in the future with similar donations. The Blue Semester class will leave St. Kitts this month to complete their final clinical year. Coming up, history made in Trinidad and Tobago's fire service. The details when we come back. In Trinidad, history was made on Thursday as for the first time, women were promoted to the rank of station officer in the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. CNews' Dion Batiste has more.
Jillian Lewis.
Acting Chief Fire Officer Kerry Gopal said these ladies have to work twice as hard as their male counterparts. He admitted that many are of the opinion that women aren't cut out for such a job.
You are the first set of women to wear khaki, in the service. So it took 24 years to put you in khaki, but you are here. And this is just the beginning. The next step, you are in the first division, officially confirmed. So set the example, because they don't have any faith in the females in the job. They don't have any faith. They don't feel you all can carry them out there. So prove yourself.
He encouraged the women to lean on their male counterparts for support. In his address, the acting chief said the promotion of the 34 officers is all part of the succession plan for the TTFS.
It goes to show that if you were not planning your future, your career, readying yourself to contribute to this organization, you will be found wanting. And not only by your supervisors, but there is a 360 appraisal. Your subordinates know if you're bluffing or if you are ready.
He reminded the officers of their responsibility to the wider population and to each other.
You are expected to lead by example. We have had enough slack officers. We don't want any more. And you, most of you have between 10 and 15 years here again, who go into the first division even more. And it is what you want for yourself, specifically, and the fire service generally. So as I said before, you can either be a fire station owner who will set an example.
He said the officers who were handpicked for higher office should take their new post seriously, all toward the continued growth and development of the fire department. Dion Batiste, CNews.
Coming up, Italy's Prime Minister resigns. The details when we return. Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi has formally submitted his resignation. He'll stay on as caretaker until a new government can be formed. Renzi had promised to step down after losing a referendum on constitutional reform over the weekend. Al Jazeera's Jonah Hull has the details.
He'd stayed on, as the president had requested, to pass the budget. But then, as Matteo Renzi had promised the country following Sunday's bruising referendum defeat, he resigned. After a 50-minute meeting at the presidential palace, the Quirinale in Rome, it was all over.
Renzi was a premier that given in Italy one of the best future for Italian.
For me, Renzi represents a new wave, a new opportunity. It represents enthusiasm, I think, and a new way of doing politics. It tries to do something different.
To many, Matteo Renzi had been the most promising, energetic face of government in a generation. But in 2.5 years as Prime Minister, having taken over when his elected predecessor had been unable to form a government, he'd failed to reduce unemployment, failed to convince the country that he was its best hope.
Il popolo ha votato, viva il popolo.
The people voted, long live the people. If the people voted no, I take on the whole responsibility of not having been able to show, explain, give reasons for them to vote yes.
Renzi said that his proposed constitutional reforms would bring stability to government, streamline decision-making and kick-start the economy. The 60% who voted against saw it as a power grab by a man considered to be allied with big business, out of touch, unelected.
We can read in another way this kind of vote. We can read as a 40% of people that are with Renzi, which is definitely a percentage which nobody else can have in Italy now.
It is perhaps premature to be writing Matteo Renzi's political obituary. There will be a new election. His Democratic Party will be in contention to win it. If he remains the head of that party, well then don't be surprised to see the return of Matteo Renzi to Palazzo Chigi sometime in 2017. The man, often described as a gambler, may not be out of luck just yet. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, Rome.
On next in sports, Tucker Clark Primary wins Primary School Football Championship and Caribbean Development Boxing Tournament is underway. Stay tuned. Tucker Clark is the new primary school football champion after defeating Irishtown Primary 6-1 on Wednesday. Both teams started very early attacking, creating numerous opportunities. Irishtown Primary's Kennedy Rodriguez broke the deadlock in the 8th minute and taking a 1-0 lead over Tucker Clark at halftime. After the interval, Tucker Clark, determined to seal the championship, scored 6 unanswered goals, with both Hazan Marshall and Vihonwai Francis registering hat-tricks. At the end of the match, awards were presented to most outstanding goalkeeper Danique Decent of Tucker Clark Primary, most outstanding defender Nicaria Brown of Irishtown Primary, most outstanding midfielder Hazan Marshall of Tucker Clark Primary. Player with the most goals, Raheem Joseph of Irishtown Primary with 34 goals. Most valuable player went to Hazan Marshall of Tucker Clark Primary. The Caribbean Development Boxing Tournament is underway in Barbados. Here's more.
The Caribbean Development Boxing Tournament opened in Barbados on Tuesday night with 18 countries vying for the title. In the first heavyweight match of the night, Barbadian boxer Charles Cox knocked out St. Lucian Marvin Anthony. However, local boy Justin Edwards was not so lucky. St. Lucian Nathan Ferrari got the better of him in the light welterweight category. Let's take in some of the fight. The tournament, which forms part of the 50th anniversary games of the Barbados Olympic Association, will run until December 10th at the Barbados Beach Club's Sea Rocks Dome.
The man who admitted to shooting and killing former NFL player Joe McKnight last week has now been charged with manslaughter.
54-year-old Ronald Gasser is being held on a $500,000 bond for the death of 28-year-old Joe McKnight. The apparent road rage case got national attention when police said December 2nd they had released Gasser from custody after he admitted to shooting and killing McKnight.
Because there are still witnesses that are out there. I can't go into the details as to why that is at this point in time, but I can tell you I can't wait for that moment so that I can set the record straight.
Norman pointed out that Gasser never asked for an attorney. Investigators got over 10 hours of interviews with Gasser when he wasn't in custody. They had over 2 hours of interviews with him in custody.
And so many other things that we were able to gain during the course of our interaction with Mr. Gasser, because what we were able to do strategically.
When we come back, we'll have another look at the stories that made the headlines. Recapping the top stories, government announces plans to empower civil servants. Opposition leader responds to national budget. And Prime Minister Harris calls for more input from the private sector. And that's the end of the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Berridge. Goodbye.